Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to episode 249 of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. Tonight I'm joined by Tom Atkins Mustache.
I could never be as cool as Tom Atkins' mustache.
Not even Tom Atkins Mustache is as cool as Tom Atkins Mustache.
It is there are not a ton of people in this world that can truly pull off a mustache. The fact that mustaches and mullets are coming popular again, maybe that's us as being boomers, but I hate it so much. But there's a very, very small amount of human beings that can rock a mustache appropriately.
I mean, you can have a mustache, fine, but not like that. That is supreme.
Let's be honest, most mustaches, like when you see a guy with a mustache, usually your brain goes, is he allowed within 300 feet of a school? That's most of them. I mean, that's not everybody. I mean, don't if anybody out there has a ri killer mustache and you're thinking we're talking about you, we're not. Because if you have a killer mustache, you know you have a killer mustache. If you don't, you know you don't.
Like, you're talking about having a mustache on its own. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
have a
yeah.
mustache and a beard mustache
Of
and
course, of
whatever.
course.
But like,
And
we're just talking
I'm just
straight mustache.
yeah, I'm just jonesing. Like if you have a mustache, it's totally cool. I have no problem with it. But let's be honest though, no one's ever had even Tom Selleck, and would look at Tom Atkins' mustache and be like, "Damn."
hmm A reason we're talking about Mr. Atkins' facial hair because tonight we're reviewing Night of the Creeps, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary, and just as a little tie-in, is having a great collaboration with Fright Rags that will be out within a day or so of this episode coming out. So as always, check out our friends at Fright Rags. They have high quality t-shirts. I'm wearing my EC Comics one. These t-shirts last a long time. They have great size selection, which I always appreciate as a taller and larger man. I can never say enough about how awesome Fright Rags is. So make sure you check out their Night of the Creeps shirts.
And they're comfy. They're comfy shirts.
Very comfy. I mean, I'm not like a much for a pants, like pajama pants and stuff. Actually, my wife took me to Target the other day to try to get me to get some pajama pants. Um, I got like pajama shorts just for the fun of it. They were Bart Simpson, so it felt weird having an animated boy's face all over my shorts. But if you don't like it, you can eat them. Haha.
What a
um,
mess.
yeah. But again, yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of Night of the Creeps. This was a first time watch for me, Jody. Jody Mondo. Have you seen this before?
Yes, but it's been a long time. It's one of those movies that it's kind of like everyone that's into this era of film knows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, and it's a fun one.
Yeah, it's one that like I definitely knew about it. I'm a big Monster Squad fan, so anything Fred Dekker I'm into. And I seen definitely lots of clips. So I was like remembering like, oh yeah, I remember this clip, remember that clip, remember that clip. Tom Atkins gives a very unhinged performance as he always does, so it's great. But yeah, okay. Before we get too deep into it, let me give you a plot synopsis. All right. In 1959, two teenagers are attacked in the woods by a strange creature that has fallen from space. One of them becomes infected by a slug like parasite, setting the stage for a nightmare that won't surface again for nearly 3 decades. In the present day, college freshman Chris Romero is trying to survive his first year at Corman University while dealing with fraternity bullies, his crush on Cynthia, and his best friend J.C. Hooper. During a fraternity initiation, Chris is sent into a laboratory to steal a corpse, where he accidentally discovers a frozen body connected to the events of 1959. When he inadvertently releases the alien parasites, they begin infecting students across the campus. The slugs enter the victims through their mouth and take control of their brains, turning them into monstrous zombie-like hosts. As the infection spreads, Chris and JC find themselves caught in the middle of an alien zombie outbreak. Their only hope may be Detective Ray Cameron, a hard-bitten, eccentric cop who quickly realizes that bizarre killings are connected to something far more sinister than a typical crime. Together, the unlikely heroes must fight their way through an increasingly infected campus and find a way to stop the parasites before they escape into the outside world. All right, Mondo, start us off.
So to start with, this is the pinnacle of cheesiness.
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a good film.
Yeah,
It takes a real hard-nosed producer to muster up the energy to bring a cheesy film like this to fruition.
for sure.
But
Well,
anyhow, yeah.
I mean, no, we love cheesy films, and it has what I want from a cheesy film. It has a heart.
Yeah. Did you pick up any of my cheese references?
No.
I am I've never been more disappointed on the show than right now in this moment. I said it's a Gouda film.
Ah,
He had to munster up the courage
got it. Got
to
it.
bring okay, never mind.
I think it's the
Anyhow,
producer one I was trying to figure out, but
I couldn't think of if I wanted to say producer, director, or anyhow, whatever. We got there. Well, now that I'm depressed and I'm not having a good time anymore, yeah, no, this is like you said, this movie has a lot of heart. By the end, you care about the characters.
hmm
Tom Atkins, just being unhinged Tom Atkins, is my favorite Tom Atkins.
yeah.
And then you have Dick Miller in a very small scene. But anytime Dick Miller's on the screen, that's at least one time in my life I smile at Dick, is when Dick Miller's on the screen. And that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie,
Well,
because Tom Atkins goes, "I'm gonna need a flamethrower," and he just casually has a shotgun in his hands, and Dick Miller's just doing his job, and he's asking for paperwork. Well, Tom Atkins just casually loads a shotgun, cocks it, and goes, "Yeah, I don't have any paperwork," as he's pointing the shotgun at him. I love that scene so
I
much.
mean, it's funny because I was like, I saw that and I saw Dick Miller like in the gun depository, whatever it was,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, is
the
this gonna be
armory.
like a Terminator scene? Like anytime Dick Miller is like working in a gun shop, and he doesn't get shot, but he almost gets shot in this scene.
I was watching Terminator 2 last night,
Mm,
and the scene when they're in the mental institute saving Sarah Connor. Spoilers, everybody. But I was thinking, like, I want this part reshot from just like, and I want everyone that works there, all the police that work there, to be Keystone cops, and I want it reshot bumbling police officers having to deal with the Terminator
oh
and
god.
coming into their precinct. And that's what I could think of those that was Dick Miller.
Have you played the Terminator No Fate game? The
Yes.
side scroller one? Oh, it's so good. It's short, but
It,
it's really, really good.
it's a lot of fun. I think the asking price on it was a bit much,
Yeah, I
but
got on sale.
yeah, me too. It's fun running through that game and playing through the different, how they have different endings to it too, depending on what you do, and
hmm
affect the story and the great soundtrack. Yeah, it's a fun game.
And
Anyhow,
you can do a cheat code so you can just go through the harder settings real easy.
I'm just,
I'm
you know
old. I
what?
don't have time to do
No,
things on hard mode anymore.
I'm an easy mode guy. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Therefore, I feel like I don't need somebody to cheat me through hard mode, because I just know I'm not good enough to beat the hard mode. It's okay.
Well, yeah, except there's like different enemies and stuff when you do the harder levels. So I want to see like the full. I want to get the full
Hmm.
experience of like the harder guys and like the more elaborate gameplay, but still easy. I want to have my cake and eat it too.
I respect this. I respect this. Anyhow, back to Night of the Creeps. I also think the idea of, hey, we can go back to the beginning. I love when they have this 50s
hmm
scene at the beginning and how it's shot, and it looks a lot like the Blob.
Yes, I was thinking about the blob a lot.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that they were definitely inspired by that era of creature feature on this, and with zombies as well. And I love the idea of just the zombies are not really zombies; they're infected by these leeches, and because they do that, something I really like, where they're aiming for the head on these zombies to try to kill them, which so many people in zombie films do not do. Like, they kind of can't grasp that concept, but then all that's doing is releasing the leeches to infect more people. And
Yeah.
I love that storyline aspect of it. I think the two main characters work very well together and play off each other very, very well. So Tom Atkins comes in and just plays that the great grizzled, but like the cop that's grizzled, but he knows, he's got the inkling that something's up. And the story itself is just a super, super fun story.
Yeah, again, I haven't seen this before, and I knew it was about like zombies and slugs and stuff. But it starts off on this spaceship, and I was like, "Whoa! I didn't know that was part of this." And you got these like gingerbread-looking aliens that are just kind of running around and like, shooting at each other. I'm like, "What movie am I watching?" I was very confused for a few minutes.
I just,
And then it
I,
goes to this like sci-fi 50s movie, which I'm like, I'm down for. I was like, is this the whole movie? Because I remember the clips I've seen were in color. So I'm
that's
like,
gotta
okay,
be
they're going to
a
do a
lot of
flash
fun.
forward at some point. What's that?
It's gotta be a lot of fun though to experience that for the first time and just be. I think it's fun when you go into a movie like this that's got the
Hmm.
fanfare it has, and you probably read about it, heard people talk about it, and I love though when you got into it that it was still like, wait, what the hell is this? Because yeah, that first, like the first maybe 10-15 minutes of the movie, I think the first time I watched this, I had that exact same reaction, thinking like, did I rent the right movie? Is this a right
Right.
cassette tape? So I think I rented this back. I know I saw this back when I was in high school, which whatever movie can do that too, though, it's kind of fun because,
Yeah, it's fun.
and I'd say even the ending, well, with the spaceship flying. By the way, like, I have to call shenanigans though in the ending with this gigantic like
Hmm.
city-sized spaceship just flying low over a cemetery.
Right.
I do love it. Don't get me wrong, but I just think it's funny. At this point, the aliens aren't even trying. But I do think when
Well,
a movie can do that though, and kind of take those elements that make you question if you're watching the right film, I think that's a lot of fun.
yeah. And like, so the movie, takes starts off in the 50s and then flashes to the 80s, and that's a very common trope in 80s movies. I read a whole book about like 80s movies and nostalgia and
Okay.
everything, about how in the 80s, a lot of people were nostalgic for things before everything went turbulent in the 60s, with the Vietnam War and the damn hippies and everything. Like, it was a very crazy decade in the 70s. Were kind of clean up from that. So a lot of people are hearkening to the simpler days of the 50s, especially if you're white and wealthy. Um, there's a lot of nostalgia for that. So that's why there's a lot of 80s movies, the chief among them being like Back to the Future, where they
Oh yeah.
go back, they skip over those hard decades, back to their youths, kind of go back and forth. So there's the synergy between those time periods. And yeah, I love the black and white stuff. And then we get introduced to these two friends, and it's the most like 80s thing possible. Where like two kind of dorky guys. One of them is depressed, and instead of like, "Hey man, tell me what's hurting you. I want to hear about your depression. I want to hear about your emotions. Let me hear what's going on. What's bothering you." But no, hey, let me go find a chick for you to go stalk for the rest of the night and the rest of this
That's the
movie.
only way you're gonna be bummed. That's the only reason you can be bummed, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
it's like, shut up about your depression. Let's go find a chick. Like, it was funny in hindsight. I don't know
yeah.
if that's just what people did in the 80s.
No, it works though, and
Yeah.
it works because it's an '80s movie, and
Hmm.
I think when, and I'm not gonna call it any current movies in the theater right now, but I think sometimes though, when you see kind of this crude humor when it came out in the '80s, even if it's problematic today, you at least understood that they wrote it when it was looked at differently in that time period.
Sure.
It's much different when you see a modern movie that tries to throw things back to that era that writes problematic things like that,
Hmm.
because you know better now. Like you don't have to do that to set it in that time period. So I think some like this trope you're mentioning, I think nowadays that trope will be played for laughs almost. Like, come on, dude, what are you doing? As opposed to in this one where it's like, no, this is the goal. Like, we'll get him a chick, everything will be good.
Right. Like, I'm going to point at this one chick that I'm just going to infatuate with. I know nothing about her. She's not a person with any agency or anything, but she's my goal. Like, but I do love the evolution actually of the Cynthia character. She becomes very proactive in the third act. She's like a flamethrower. It is funny how like they switch off who's holding the flamethrower and who's holding the shotgun, like
Yeah.
every couple scenes. And they don't show the switching. It's just like, okay, they just switched at some point, but that's I'm assuming taking a flamethrower off is kind of a big deal. Um, this is one of those continuity things that I think is kind of funny. And I really enjoyed his friend. I think it's JC, who they show him walking with crutches throughout a lot of the movie, but they never like it never is really part of his character. It
Yeah.
just is. It's nothing they draw attention to. It's not. It's just kind of like someone with whatever disability he has exists,
Yeah.
and that's just his character. That's just it just is. So that's really nice too.
Yeah, I like when they do that in movies too. And Evil Dead Rise did that, where they had a trans character, but they never
Hmm.
talked about it. It wasn't their personality, wasn't that they were trans. It was just a natural part of their life.
Right. And I thought the lead frat boy, I can't remember his name right now. He was actually really funny, like unintentionally. I mean, I'm hoping the movie
Yeah.
is making fun of him a little bit, but like he's just so cool where he just like puts his hand out, someone puts his sunglasses there, puts his other hand out,
Yeah.
someone hands him his jacket. Like he's
I
just
mean,
so cool.
he's definitely on the antagonist side, right?
Oh no, he's totally antagonist, but like
Yeah.
whether
So
the movie's just
he's
trying to
def-
make him cool or is like being a
no,
parody of cool.
it's definitely a parody of cool because you got to think too. A lot of these movies are written by geeks like us, right?
Yeah,
That kind of saw that as the cringiest shit ever. So he was definitely written to be a douchebag.
right. Yeah, I mean, this is written and directed by Fred Dekker, um, who would go on to do Monster Squad like less than a year later than this. And there's even like, if you saw in the background, someone wrote like Monster Squad rules
Yeah,
in the bathroom stall or something. So it's kind of cool that he's already promoting his next movie in his current movie.
yeah, and that's a fantastic one too. So good on him.
Yeah, and we actually have an interview with Fred Dekker as well, so make sure you check that out.
I do like
Um,
too when you see the I do like too when they're having like the Halloween, it's like a Halloween party, and
yeah,
when the frat boy shows back up and he just looks horrendous because he's been affected by these leeches. And
mhm,
I do love that nobody mentions how terrible he looks, but also if they just assumed it was a costume, like
mhm.
holy shit, no one mentions how awesome this costume was.
Right. And this must be, it's always a cheeky thing in the horror movies, especially where they like make characters names that reference other horror directors and actors and stuff from movies. Like, I think like Jason Lives, there's like Bela Lugosi or
Yeah.
Carl off this, and there's like lots of little things. This movie might have like the most. We have a character named after George Romero. We have one literally named James Carpenter Hooper.
Yep.
The main actress, she's named, the character's name is Cynthia Cronenberg, and they say it a couple times actually. We have Detective Cameron. We even have Detective Landis, Sergeant Raimi, and Mr. Minor. And then we also have other officers named Dante and De Palma. Like he fit in every single one he possibly could think of.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all. It's an homage, right?
It's
It's an
fun.
homage
It's
to
totally
those you
fun.
love. And yeah, it's totally good. Unless you made just like the most deplorable character possible, kind of how
Mhm.
Craven named Freddy Krueger after his childhood bully.
Yeah, that's good. I always love that. That's a real good way to get back at someone. Um, what I find funny about this movie is how long it actually takes for like the slugs for like them to realize what the slugs are. For that, it's like pretty much so like you get like a 10-minute prologue, and then it takes almost until the movie's at like 15 minutes left in the movie for like everyone the big invasion to start happening. It just really builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, they're building their army. They want to be prepared for the final battle. And speaking of which, I love the at the end too when you have Tom Atkins who's like fighting him with tape over his mouth so they can't jump into his
Mm-hmm.
mouth. I'm like, that's actually pretty brilliant in a horror film. Like he's a character that learns and he actually listens to the kids who are like, there's some weird shit going on, dude.
Yeah. But it also makes you wonder, like, are there other holes they could go into, or would that be worse?
Well, no, because they have to affect the brain, right? So to get
Yeah,
from to get the other holes to the brain, oh, the nose would make sense, right? But are they too big to fit
the
in the
nose
nose?
would be the most direct. Yeah, because if you go through the mouth, you have to go down to the stomach and then back up.
Or their ears. No, well, your mouth, the back connects to your throat, connects to, I guess that's to your nose. So you could get. I mean, I'm not a fucking doctor, but you could get there. I just figure it's due to their size.
Yeah, but like, I love there's that like spinning shot of Tom Atkins shooting at people in the sorority house. He's just like blasting away, like
Yeah, I mean,
he's not even really aiming.
it's always that funny thing too, where he never really explains anything to the sorority people, like what's going on. He just
Yeah,
starts Danny DeVito Vito style, just blasting. He's just like, we're just gonna do this, and yeah, I do love
right.
that. I love too. You also have, I think it's kind of might be a little bit of homage to Evil Dead in a way when he plays a tape to learn about with a
Mm-hmm.
doctor talking about the experiments and how to kill the leeches or the slugs or whatnot. I also love the very end shot. I also love this trope too you see in movies, especially from that era, that everyone just had a full can of gas in the basement of the garage or something like
Yep.
that. Like this, and that's what Tom Atkins uses. And then, but what happens at the end? We see he didn't really win. We see him walking, and he's just burnt, burnt
Oh,
and
he's still
crispy,
smoking a cigarette. I love
still
it so
smoking a
much.
cigarette. Yeah, like the cigarette survived the
Hmm.
explosion, and then the leeches come up from him and then keep going. So there's obviously an idea for a sequel with this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very curious if there were ever any serious attempts
Or
at a sequel.
I often wonder too, just thinking of it. Wouldn't this come out 84?
86.
86. You said 40th anniversary. This time period too is also when you had though the sequels. All these horror movies are doing sequels. So I imagine even if you didn't have a sequel planned, you probably would want to write it to leave it open ended at the end, to where it could be either finished or you could go like because you could always make the assumption that the leeches ran, picked back up at the spaceship, and then they moved on, or that they went to go infect the graveyard and bring people back from the dead. So you can kind of take it either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can find the box office on this. So keep talking.
Okay, this is a lot of pressure now. Whenever you say that,
I
but
know.
yeah, big fan of this one though. Night of the Creeps is it's the pinnacle of 80s, and it's kind of what 80s cheesy horror films are meant to be. Just a hell of a lot of fun, some good scares. Like you can have some good laughs at this. I love this movie.
Yeah, it's okay. So according to IMDb, the budget was 5 million. The gross worldwide was only about 600,000. So that's really
Ooh.
not good.
Well, yeah, but a lot of movies were making their money on
Well,
VHS. They weren't making their money in the box
yeah,
office.
this stuff has VHS written all. I think it came out like five or so more years later. We get more VHS, but I mean, as you know, we're looking at 40th anniversaries. This is going up against Aliens, Jason Lives, and The Fly. Like those
Yeah,
are
that's a
three all-time classics, and this is a good movie. But I'm sorry, it's not touching any of those.
yeah. If you have to go to the movie theater, which one are you seeing? You know what though? To be fair, I'm probably seeing Jason Lives out of all those.
Probably Aliens, but Jason Lives is very close.
I would say Aliens is. I'm not going to argue that Jason Lives is a better
I love
movie.
Jason Lives is my favorite Friday movie.
But yeah, me too. But it's not better. It's not a better movie in and of itself than Aliens is. It's just if I'm going to sit at the movie theater, I'm gonna have more fun watching Jason Lives.
I mean, why not all three, all four? But
because my ass
I
gets
don't
to the
know.
seat that long.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and also that's kind of like a little bit something for everybody when you look at that. You know, slasher, body horror, sci-fi. Which again, this is kind of all three of those in all in one. So I don't know what else was. I don't have everything that came out in August of '86, but that's a lot of competition. So I'm
Yeah,
not entirely surprised.
it's crazy to look back on that and think of that, but no one knew that those films are going to be classics.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a week in the movies.
Right, I'm very surprised they put Jason Lives up against Aliens. That's because the anticipation for that one was huge at the time, for as big as Alien was. So I don't know how they make these decisions or what. But yeah, that's a crazy one. But yeah, this is just again, there's a lot of heart. I actually the way they develop Cynthia as a character is really good. Is really impressive.
Yeah, she's not just played off like a bimbo or she's not just cannon fodder or you know it's kind of actually kind of similar to Jason Lives, where you have the female character that becomes a strong character by the end of it. So yeah, very similar to that, like where she's actually taken seriously as a character. Is what I want kind of.
Yeah, and of course, and like obviously, once her like frat boyfriend, she sees how much of an asshole he is. She immediately is like, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah.
So good on her for that. It's well written, and again, Fred Dekker knows how to get heart in horror movies. The other thing I was thinking, how do you compare this to like Slither?
I mean, Slither definitely took homage from this, but I think Slither is a more because you can definitely tell it's very much influenced by Night of the Creeps, right? Even when you get into the humor they inject in it. But I think by the end, I would say Slither is more full on horror by the end than this one is. But I think I'd probably give them the same rating, to be honest with you. I love Slither, but I think if you had to put a gun to my head and ask me which one I wanted to watch, I would watch again first. It'd be this.
Yeah, I like Slither. I don't know, it just doesn't hit as well for me. I like this one a lot better, and like it does feel very. Now that I've seen Night of the Creeps, it feels even more derivative of it.
Yeah, and I think this one is more charming. It might be the best word I can put it, but also might be biased for that time, for us, like, throwing back to that 80s time period. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there, but I do think though overall, this is probably, you have a lot of things going for this one, where it's the goofy college kids and Tom Atkins and Dick Miller and
Hmm.
And that's not a knock on Slither at all. I think this one just has maybe like you said earlier, maybe it's got a little bit more heart to it.
Right. And again, and that's also James Gunn does do very well at the same
Oh
thing,
yeah,
putting art in horror. But yeah, this one wins out for me. Okay, I did a quick Google. Also released right before this one in late August of 1986, Stand By Me and Texas Chainsaw 2.
that's crazy. It's
Yeah.
insane. I kind of wonder in 20 years from now, our kids gonna be talking about horror movies that we talk about them, but it also was a little bit different time period in that the way to see most movies was in the theater.
Right.
And you could afford to take a family of four to the theater and not have to break your fucking bank every week. So I think people would see multiple movies, and I think so. You had more box office options were more viable, if that makes sense. Because like now, I know you'll see crossover nowadays. We like Spider-Man can get released alongside a big horror movie, and usually both will do okay because they're attracting different audiences. But back then, I think they probably even had more of a variety of that, where they just didn't care as much because they knew like all these movies would still get traction.
And like VHS was a thing, but it was still expensive. The VHS player was hell expensive back then.
Yeah, most I don't think we had a VHS player. I know my grandfather bought one when I was young, but he was also one of those guys. Like I was fortunate enough that my grandfather always, after he retired from the military, wanted to be a technology guy and love learning about new
Mhm.
technology. But we had a VHS, but like that probably wasn't until 87, 88.
Right. Okay, I'm googling how much was a VHS player in
I
1986.
could about 88, 89, something like that. Because I moved to Vegas in 92, maybe even 90.
Okay, the average price of a standard VHS player with the remote control was $300 to $400
Which for
back then.
inflation, yeah, it's probably about a grand right now.
Yeah. So I mean that's like the price of a PS5 now.
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty crazy. But there's
okay.
also a
Oh wait,
thing too
with
that people probably
inflation,
remember.
that would have been $1,241.
Damn.
Yeah.
And to think of it too, though, was also back then, you could rent VHS players from your video stores,
Yeah.
but they weren't. But that was a thing, which is kind of crazy to look back and think on.
Yeah. You can also rent like a Nintendo for just for the weekends to have friends over.
Yeah,
I'm curious how much that cost. Like back then, I don't remember.
I remember being around $20 or so. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't break the bank money. It
Right.
wasn't.
Like how many times we have to rent it for it to justify just to buy one.
Yeah,
But again, if you have
yeah.
like a group of friends, each one could rent it a different weekends, so you could spread it out.
The things we went through back in the day, man.
Oh my god! Well, we didn't even buy VHS tapes; we would just tape them off a TV, or you could put two VHS players together and with a blank tape, play the movie and record it at the same time.
Dude, that was
You
my
know?
hustle in high school.
Yeah.
Because I was trading wrestling tapes with all these VHS players going. So yeah, I would do that and then sell them at school, make a little bit of
That's
money.
awesome. So yeah, this is a really fun movie. It's like it's not, and actually the effects are really good. They hold up really well. I thought.
Yeah, again, practical effects for the win. Like
Hmm.
even when the animal faces change, they don't. It's not. It definitely looks fake. Don't get me wrong, but it's endearing. Like I love those special
Well,
effects.
and they know not to show too much. It just
Yeah,
happens like really quickly, like and then it's gone.
which you know
Um,
what? That's to this day. That's the reason why Texas Chainsaw Massacre always works so well. It's they gave the illusion of the effect, but never showed you too
mhm,
much.
right.
So you had people swearing that you see the meat hook go into the bone. I'm like, no, you never see that, but it was so well done. And I think that might be a fallacy of some modern horror films too, that want to show too much to where you don't get that chance to be like, oh shit, I just actually see that,
Well,
or lingering on an effect that might not be as good as it should be.
mhm. Like that. I mean, Obsession is a perfect example of like not knowing how much to show because there's so much of it is in the dark and in shadow, and like at no point does she like jump out with a big scary CG face. It's all
Yeah,
just her. And that they do any effects, it's like in the dark, so you just get a hint of it.
like the one big effect is the one in the car,
Yeah.
and again, it's a actually we're getting way off topic, but that's a modern lesson in restraint
Hmm.
where you give someone that one horrific scene in a movie that really doesn't have that, and people will talk about that scene for a long ass time.
Yep, for sure. All right, what do you give Night of the Creeps? What rating?
Oh, this is a 4 for me. Very close to a 4.5. I think, but again, this is the kind of movie that I like to reach for. It's I don't want, I feel good might be the wrong term, but it's a fun movie. It's one you can fucking take an edible and have a good time with Night of the Creeps and watch his wackiness. I think a good 1-2 punch, a good double feature would be this and Chopping Mall.
Yeah, for sure.
Get
I
your
was
small
thinking about
town. Yeah.
this in Chuck Russell's The Blob would be a great one.
Yeah, a very good one. But you would go from I think that's cool too, because I stand by The Blob being a scary movie.
Oh, I
Like
love
like
that
a
movie.
legit scary movie, and this is way more kind of a campy.
I guess yeah, a little more vibe would be Chopping Mall.
But still,
sure.
that's
Dick
that's
Miller.
that's. But a lot of times, that's what makes a good double feature, though, is sometimes that contrast.
But yeah, another Dick Miller movie. So Chopping Mall would be a good one. Yeah, I'm a 4 too, and I might even watch this again like a year and raise it. Even like I kind of watch this with my older son, who's like
Yeah.
20-year-old. I think that he would have a lot of fun with this movie. And again, the restraint they hold, they show to hold like all the action to like the very very end. Because usually, like again in Slither, there'd be like a scene where they're barricading, they have to figure things out.
Yeah.
No, it just kind of builds and builds, and then we have the big finale, and then we're out.
And it never feels slow or feel
No.
like that it never feels like it's dragging. It's still the plot's always moving through this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's take a quick break and do a shout out.
Hi, I'm Fred Dekker, director of Monster Squad, and you're listening to Dads from the Crypt.
He had a great hat on too. That Amity Island hat. I need to find that hat.
Yeah, I did that last year during the 50th anniversary of Jaws. So he was very into Jaws at the time. Make sure you check out my full interview. We don't talk much about Night of the Creeps. I kind of want to go back and do that now. We'll see. But we talk a lot about Monster Squad. So that's a really fun time. Mondo, give us your song of the day.
So I was thinking of Leech the whole time and not Slug. Why? Because I got a little bit high earlier. That's why. So anyhow, but I also picked a band that I saw live about 3-4 months ago with my child. A band called No Mas. No/MAS. No Mas. A Latino band from, I think they're from Baltimore or Washington, in that area. But they opened for a band called Exhumed here in Las Vegas, and they're very politically active. If you listen to our podcast, you know where our hearts lie, and that's their hearts lie in the same place. And I still remember they led the crowd to a "fuck ICE" chant, and that was pretty awesome. But they do have a song on their latest record, which is called "No Peace," and its song is called "Leech." And I think they're one of those bands that really do this cross of like death metal, grindcore, hardcore, and do it really, really well. Super energetic, fun live band to go see. If they're in your neck of the woods, they come visit, check them out. But definitely give them a listen because they deserve it. They're out there grinding. Get it, grinding. But they're out there doing their thing, touring the United States, making good fucking aggressive music, and fighting against the man. So yeah, check them out. No Mas. The song Leech off No Peace.
Nice. Alrighty.
Alrighty then. Speaking of Monster Squad, while we're on the topic, you're about to get into some horror news, but Arrow Video will be releasing only in the UK a 4K edition of the Monster Squad, but cool. You can still order this. Great retailers like Diabolic DVD, Orbit DVD, they'll get it stateside. And the good thing about 4K movies they are region free, so you can still buy it in the US and watch it and enjoy it. So speaking of, if you haven't seen the Monster Squad, why not?
What are you doing?
Such a good movie. One of my favorite t-shirts I own is a shirt that says Sutter Kane Rules in that same Stephen King Rules font. And I'm like, it's such a fucking nerdy shirt. One of the shirts you wear, and you know if someone kind of gets it, that they're as big of a dork as you are.
Yeah, for sure. Julie's not here with horror news, and also we're recording a little bit early, so any horror news we talk about right now is probably going to be old by the time this comes out. But I did pull up some horror hot takes that we could talk about. One of them actually fits very well. Someone wrote in and said that the Thing 2011 is a solid movie. Even though it's technically prequel, you should still watch the original Thing first. What's your take on the Thing 2011?
It's been so long. I remember not hating it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember being okay. I don't think I thought strongly of it. I didn't think strongly of it enough to remember it one way or the other. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means it wasn't an offensive remake or offensive, film. But I don't think it was great either. But yeah, I don't think it's that bad of a take.
I watched it again within the last year or so, around there. I think it was some like maybe a year ago, last October. And actually, I do think it's a pretty good movie. It's hard because the Thing original is such a classic.
Yeah.
It's like hard to touch it. I think it's pretty good. The biggest offense is just the fact that they CGI'd over all these original effects, and it just stands out so much.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the original was so groundbreaking for practical effects, it feels like a real slap on the face.
I can
Um,
understand that.
I think as a movie, it's good. Like the acting and the plot and stuff. The ending is a little much. Just goes a little off the rails. I love Mary Elizabeth Winston. She's always fun in movies, but like the fact that they even had practical effects, and for whatever reason they decided to CGI over them. You can go on YouTube and just Google Thing 2011 practical effects, and you can see what they did. And I think their original idea was to supplement with CGI for some of the stuff to make it more tentacles and maybe hide over some of the scenes, or green screen out the puppeteers and stuff. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason they thought, well, if we're gonna do that, might as well just do it all based on that.
I mean, they could have gotten. I still remember too. It was Rick Baker originally was, I believe, and I could be wrong on this because the Wolfman the remake came out what 2011,
Somewhere around there, yeah.
but I remember reading at the time that Rick Baker, who did American Werewolf in London with one of the best practical effects scenes of all time, was they were going to have him do all the werewolf transformations, and then once he told them how long it would take, they're like, we'll just CGI it. So it could have been a studio choice to do that too, not necessarily a creator choice.
Oh yeah. I'm sure 90% of those things usually come from the studio. I love that there was a effects studio called Fix It in Post. I thought that was really funny.
That's the I'm rewatching Kel and I've been rewatching CSI from the beginning because it's a lot of fun, especially being from Vegas, seeing what Vegas looked like in the year 2000. We're like, oh yeah, it looks nothing like that anymore. But it's just funny because I work in the surveillance industry, and I don't work for flock cameras. Everybody, I work for a private company. FYI, that's not doing that kind of shit. But anyhow. But they do like I'm watching these CSI episodes. They're like, oh yeah, no big deal. We can just look at that. You take that camera, give me a 360 view behind the person, and clean up this. I'm like, none of the shit worked out. In no world can you do that.
Let's take the best possible view we have and just magically zoom and enhance it. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, now with current technology, there is some truth to it, but not to that level. But
you're pretty much using algorithms and AI and stuff, which is not, which is just feeling it's guessing.
Yes and no. You have cameras that go up like 48 megapixels.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of factors that go into why it may or may not work. But you're right, and not even AI, but most cameras are smart enough to be able to fill in the gaps. But digital zoom is not as good as what people think it is.
Right.
I read an interesting one today that someone brought up. I was in a Reddit thread about something completely different, and they're talking about how they would die on the hill that not Nightmare on Elm Street, the Platinum Dunes that did the Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, they stand on that being a solid slasher, and you want to know what? I agree with them.
Yeah,
I think it suffers from the fact that it was a Friday the 13th movie. And I say this about Rob Zombie's Halloween as well. If you get rid of the character that you're trying to portray it on and just turn it into your own your own original slasher, I think both those are actually probably pretty good. And now I kind of want to go back and watch both of them through that lens.
Yeah, I watched the Friday 13th remake within the last couple of years. And I remember I liked it better than the first time I saw it. But again, once you're divorced from that. Also, at that time, the whole remake Platinum Dooms thing was kind of mirroring we're really kind of tired of that trend, so it just kind of hit at the wrong time.
Man, it's still crazy to me that the one they nailed was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which you think out of all those would be the most difficult IP to nail.
Right.
And I almost think it benefits from being so sorry.
And then they spent like 10 years trying to recreate that with no real success.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me because that movie, though, is so far removed from what the original was stylistically.
Hmm.
But they somehow nailed that one. But they also got yeah, they had some, Jessica
Uh,
Biel was good in it. Arlie Ermy was
I,
great
I
as
I just don't like the look. I mean, okay, we're getting again more off topic, but I don't love the look of that one. It just seems like too try hard to be slimy and gross. Like where the original just felt more natural.
I definitely understand that. Yeah.
It just felt like it just made me feel wet. Like it was like it was like trying. Yeah, I just didn't love the way it was shot. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to go over that. But back to Friday 13th. Actually, I think like the first 20 minutes or so is great. It's like a perfect
Dude,
Friday
I'm with
13th
you.
short film.
Jason running was fucking terrifying for 5
With yeah,
seconds.
yeah. So like the first everything up until the whole opening, and then with the credits kind of zooming through the Jason story. The rest of the movie is okay. Some of the characters are really really annoying.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, as far as the remakes go, I like it better than the Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously better than the Halloween. Um,
Really, hold on a second. Better than Halloween 2018, or better
no,
than when you
no,
put the
no, no,
trilogy
Rob
together?
Zombie's Halloween.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
2018 is not a remake; it's a sequel. So,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, you're right.
um, so yeah, I mean, of the big three, I'd reach for that one. I'm not going to reach for any of them anytime soon. It's an interesting kind of what if.
Oh, I do like Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. I think that one was solid. I
Yeah, I
did.
like that one too, actually.
I did also like the Netflix one.
Yeah,
I was in the minority with that one. I know that wasn't. There's a lot of things about that I didn't like, but I also felt the end of that the Shelly Hartsey fight was almost like it reminded me of Texas Chainsaw 2 and Dennis
yeah.
Hopper versus Leatherface, and I think they're trying to be a little bit unhinged with that. But yeah.
If
Anyhow,
they
I
took out if they took out the Laurie Strode the wannabe whole thing with Sally, I think it is, then I would have liked that
yeah,
one much better. Other than that,
yeah.
I think it's actually really solid.
Well, that was a hot
Um,
take on on sequels, but keep going. I'm sorry.
that's all right. And what's funny when we do this, wipe out these hot takes, some people have like the most opposite views right next to each other. So someone said like slow burns are the scariest, and that one said The Shining is boring.
Dude,
I'm
like
like,
I think it was still funny that Jody and I kind of slandered The Shining a lot.
yeah, I know that was a funny episode. I really wish I was there
Um,
for that.
and it's interesting because we're generally the most positive people, but nah, dude, I'm with them. I think The Shining is kind of boring. Like I just really
No,
do. And
I,
at no point am I calling it a bad movie, or am I saying it's not a fucking beautiful movie, or that Kubrick isn't a goddamn genius. I'm just saying I find that movie to be a little boring sometimes.
nope. I think it's a masterpiece through and through. I mean, I think it's over exalted, like with the homages and everything. Like
Okay.
everyone wants to do an homage, and I think that's kind of sullied it a little bit. But on its own merits, no, I think that movie is tense all the way through.
And dude, I
Um,
love a slow burn. Like I really do. But for some reason, The Shining is there's parts that bore me to tears. But at the end of the day, god damn it, that's a beautifully like perfectly shot movie.
mhm, yeah,
I'd argue, and I love Kubrick. So as much as I think it was funny, I think Jody and I both slandered it, and then both gave like 3.5, which is our version of slandering a movie.
yeah. And when someone says slow burns are the scariest, I don't think there's any way to say something is scary as like
I
like
think
scarier than anything else. I mean, I think both
yeah.
of them can be scary.
Well, I think it depends too on like what affects you, right?
Sometimes they just hit you like atmosphere wise. I still think the Innkeepers is boring as hell.
So what's funny is I love House of the Devil.
Yeah.
But again, if you were to argue that that was a boring movie, I'm not gonna. Again, tastes are different, right?
Hmm.
But the Innkeepers, I have to agree with you. The Innkeepers, I was excited for because I'm like, Ty West just did
Yeah.
House of the Devil, and I'm super stoked. And then I watched the Innkeepers, and that movie bored me to tears.
All right.
Great,
One
great
more.
great sound design on that movie, though.
Yeah.
Incredible.
No, I mean, it's not. Yeah. All right. One more. And this is a kind of a funny one because someone made a comment and then someone responded to it. So someone said body horror is fundamentally disgusting and shouldn't be socially acceptable. I think there's very few things in movies that should not be socially acceptable.
Hmm.
I guess there's a couple I could probably think of, like, but usually has exploitation,
Yeah.
like major exploitation. What's so obviously I don't know if this person's trolling or whatever. I really enjoy body horror. What's funny is someone responded to this person saying, "quote Good art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable, It should never ever disturb, but it should never ever disturb me in particular.
Mm. So it's an interesting take, right? When it comes to body horror, because you know, um, I could definitely understand that viewpoint if the body horror is trying to exploit or to make a um trying to make a physical deformity. Like no one should be ashamed of themselves if they have a physical deformity. It's what I'm kind
Hmm.
of trying to say. Like if it was trying to use that as the act of horror, as opposed to like again like The Fly, where it's body horror definitely because the changes his body is going through, but it's not mimicking like a natural deformity, if that makes sense. Like
Right.
no one's gonna turn into a human fly.
Right.
It's kind of what I'm going for. Like, but like if it's a body horror that just uses like a large person or a heavy person as a device to be like they're a terrible person because they're heavy, then yeah, I'm with you. And those aren't devices we need. That's lazy.
Right. I mean, anything could be yeah, it's more about the exploitation of it all. Also, like if you're going into it knowing it's a body horror movie, you should be informed to a degree of what content you're about to consume. Um, so I guess if someone surprises you with The Fly or something like that, that can be a bit
Yeah,
much.
yeah, for sure. And like a movie, a recent one, The Substance, which got
Hmm.
obviously a phenomenal film. That's definitely a body horror movie, but but a movie like that even is using the body horror to point out the shallowness of society and how much
Right.
emphasis and we put on someone's physical appearance as opposed to who they are as a person. So I'd argue that something like that is using that trope to basically shame people for judging people by how they look and what their bodies look like.
Yeah.
So
All right.
that's a really interesting one. I'm that's a I kind of would like to hear more what that person has to say about why, because I think that's one of those things where it could be unpacked more. But again, like if it's not exploiting it,
Right. Yeah, I want to know more. Yeah, I would like to know more. But like, also just the statement that anything should be not be socially acceptable. I think I'm of the opinion that I want as much free art, like art to be free to express itself however it can. Again, as long as it's consensual and people are
I mean,
aware of what they're going to be shown. Like you just don't want to like show like have sit someone down like, oh, Cannibal Holocaust, let's go.
yeah, especially and I know there's a director and God, I think his name was Lucifer Valentine. And he did all these like movies with vomit and stuff like that. I've never actually watched any of them, but I think in that case, when using like exploiting people to do things like that to show them as horrific people, like yeah, I'm with you 100% that shouldn't be a thing. So I
Right.
do think there, but that's I think is also crossing the line from art um to like you brought consent
Yeah.
to that effect, which is just now you're exploiting human beings that might not know how you're exploiting them to exploit them and
Mhm.
make a pseudo horror film or whatever.
Right. I'm of the opinion that like the more censorship we have, the less free we are.
Yeah,
So
well, again, like I don't think that person should be censored, but dude,
mhm.
I do think you
People
should
should
know what you're getting
know.
into. Yeah,
You should be informed. But like the more that's how I know that we can be expressive is when things are more socially acceptable.
yeah, and well, even so, like there are people that put some media out that's very let's be like I'll use some bands like Argalest who their albums are inherently about racism and about how proud they're being racist. Like
Yeah.
I don't ever want them censored, but you know what? You can fucking hear their shit and be like, oh, those are terrible human beings, and I don't want to listen to them. But I still would believe in censoring because when you get on that path of censorship, then you open up a whole can of worms as to what should be censored, and everyone's gonna have different opinions on that, and that's
Yeah.
again, it's the idea, right? Of like we have freedom of speech, we don't have freedom from consequence. Like if you're going to be a shitbag band like that, that's going to talk about that's going to be openly racist, like cool, then people have the right not to support you with their dollars. So
Yeah. Or a
they're- they're
venue kid has the right to not, allow you to
not not
perform.
not not
That's
want to
their
be
choice.
associated with you or your show. Yeah,
You have the choice to say it, but not everyone has a choice to want to listen to it.
yeah. And what I hate about music, you'll have fucking idiots that are like, oh, but they're riffs. I'm like, guess what, dude? There's so many bands that have good riffs
Mhm.
that don't have that ideology. Like, fuck
Right.
off. Just saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. We appreciate everyone for listening. Would really appreciate if you would give us a rating or review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, a like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads From The Crypt Talk on TikTok. With that, I thank you for listening to Dads From The Crypt. Mondo, you want to say goodbye?
Oh, sorry. Bye, guys. Till next time. Adios.
Follow Dads From The Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.